All right, what up YouTube? Welcome back to my Bybit Digital Course, video number 4, indicators. Let's dive in and talk about the best indicators to use on Bybit. Now you can also use indicators on TradingView as well, because all of the Bybit charts are actually over on TradingView. So depending on what platform you like to use, now a lot of people don't like to use TradingView because you actually have to pay to have multiple charts, and everything you need to do on TradingView you actually have to pay to upgrade. So if you're just using just Bybit and that's the only charts you got, let's dive in and talk about these indicators. Guess what? I'm not a financial advisor. I may have a plethora of crypto knowledge, but this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. You always need to do your own research. I do not advise that you buy, sell, hodl, trade, or invest in any cryptocurrency. And if you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button, turn on those post notifications, and smash that subscribe button, I would be greatly appreciative. And down in the description, you can always find chapter timelines in case you want to skip ahead, affiliate links, and links to my digital course. Now that we got the YouTube police off our back, let's dive in, let's get it. Now you guys know I think all indicators are a huge scam, and it's a little bit easier because of the interface here. Normally I have the whole interface here, but just to show you guys, we're just gonna focus just on the charts. I'm just gonna extend my screen. That way we have the charts taking up the entire screen. Now, if you guys wanna learn about the different settings like log, auto, all of these tools, I've already made a ton of great videos that'll walk you through how to use every tool on this toolbar. So if I right click anytime and I have any drawings on the charts, I can right click and remove all drawings. This is my favorites toolbar as well, so I can just put that out of the way. We're gonna talk about indicators. So if we come up here and we click on indicators, it's gonna open up a select list of indicators that you can use over here on Bybit. So number one's probably your smooth moving average. So we're gonna turn on our smooth moving average. We're gonna turn just on a regular moving average. We're gonna turn on Bollinger bands. We're gonna turn on volume. And we're gonna turn on relative strength index, so just your RSI. Now out of all of these indicators, I really truly only use one, and that is RSI. But a lot of people like to use volume, so we're gonna talk about each one. But we're gonna turn off volume because it takes up a ton of the chart. So we're gonna turn on just the moving average. That's the only thing I wanna focus on, and that is this blue line right here. So if I actually go into my settings, you can go to style. We can actually make it more easy to see. We're gonna make it yellow and we're gonna make it really big. And you're just gonna click OK. So your moving average, depending on what time frame you're on, that's how your moving average is going to give you different readings. So when I'm on a 1 hour time frame and I have any one of my moving averages set to a number, and let's just say we'll set this one to 30. So we have a 30 moving average set up. So when I'm on the 1 hour, it's the 30-hour moving average. So it's taking the average close price of the previous 30 candles and it's averaging together, it's plotting them out, and it's putting them on the grid here. I personally always have my length set to 30, and those are my styles. So I just use just a plain moving average. Some people will use a smooth moving average, and I'll come over here and I'll set that to 30 as well. And you can see it's just a little bit different, but we're talking about like a regular moving average. What are the candles more closely related to? The red or the yellow? The yellow. So you don't need a smooth or a weighted or anything of the sort. Just a regular MA, just your regular moving average is all you really need. So if I turn on the day time frame, the moving average is going to take the average open and close price of the last 30 candles, and it's going to plot them on a chart. So you can see like right here, obviously when price is above the 30-day moving average, more bullish. When it gets below it, bearish. And you can set these, people use their moving averages differently, right? Some people use the 20, some people use the 50, some people use the 200. So you can see over here, if I turn on the 200-day moving average, well, when was a good time to sell Bitcoin? When you're above it. When is a good time to buy Bitcoin? When there's a massive gap between candles and the 200-day moving average. Same thing when price gets way above it. When was a good time to sell? You can use your moving averages, but most people use moving averages just for support and resistance, right? So if price were to come down right here, right now, and where would I be confident price is gonna find support at the very, very least at 44,000. And you can see like it came down here and bounced up, came down here and bounced up. It's just been finding support on these moving averages. So a lot of people just use the moving averages just for that. And I have videos that go into that in great detail. Now let's talk about the Bollinger bands. So again, I'm gonna go into my settings and I'm gonna go into style. I don't like when the two lines are different. So I'm gonna make it so my lines are both the same. Gonna go to upper line, same thing. Your red line is your middle line if you wanna make that easier to see. I like using mine when it's yellow because I think it stands out a little bit more. So your Bollinger bands, think of Bollinger bands that just basically monitor volatility, right? So when the market's super bullish, Bollinger bands start hitting that upper blue line, right? Most likely looking for price to reverse and come down. And it's kind of like a game. I think the Bollinger bands work a lot better on like smaller time frames. On the daily time frame, not so much, but when we're talking about on smaller time frames, all I'm really looking for is this compression. So where the volatility is pretty much leaving the market, right here, letting you know that you're expecting some price moves. Now, if you do a little bit better at TA and you know a little bit more about the market, and you can see when the market's going bearish or bullish, when you get that consolidation, that's what you're looking for. Then you have your center line, you know, just kind of like your average between the two. And then all you're really looking for is those really tight compressions. Like, look how obvious it was right here that price was getting ready to blast off. But just because it's getting ready to blast off and you see that compression doesn't mean that a pump's going to be short-lived and then it's going to be coming down to the downside. But you can see that compression here. I just like Bollinger bands because they help you monitor the volatility in a market. And right now, obviously, we're breaking above these upper Bollinger bands. We're out of them. What happened last time we broke out of them? Over here? Price came down, right? So we're doing the same thing up here. So if just looking at that as my only indicator, I would be assuming that price might come up a little bit more, but we're probably going to be coming back down here, at least to confirm support on this center line right here. And you can see every time we came down and tested that center line before, it bounced up and rallied up and rallied up and rallied up. So if it comes up again, comes back down to that yellow band, you could look at it either way. It might most likely going to continue to push to the upside, but if the market goes more bearish and it gets broken below that yellow line in the center, you can see it pushing price to the downside. Now, I'm not teaching you guys how to use these indicators. I'm just showing you guys some of my favorite indicators and the ones that if I were to be using indicators, these ones would be the ones I'd be using. But Bollinger bands, again, I think is one of those indicators that's more so designed for scalp trading. Volume is another great indicator that a ton of people use. I personally don't, because I can't tell you the amount of times that we've been in a live stream and people are like, oh, price is doing this, price is doing this. There's no volume, bro. There's no volume. Then all of a sudden a big whale comes in and boom, volume, right? Just because you don't have volume doesn't mean price isn't going to come up. And just because you don't have volume doesn't mean a major player is not going to step in and rifle price to the moon. If you watch Oliver Velez, he's one of the OG stock traders. The phrase swing trading was actually coined from an interview that he did. In one of his videos I was watching last week, he's like, listen guys, volume's a great indicator, but it was a lot better of an indicator back in the 1980s, back in the 1990s, even going into the early 2000s. But now volume doesn't really necessarily make a big role or have a big of an impact on price as it did before. So just keep that in mind. I personally don't use it, but I think that there are some times where volume is really great, but I think it's also better on those smaller time frames for scalp trading, day trading. But when it comes to being a swing trader, I don't think volume is necessarily your best friend. And I'm a huge swing trader, so I'm a swinger. So that being said, you guys can come over here, turn on volume, but again, it takes up a ton of your chart and I'm just not a fan of it. Now, the next one is stochastic RSI or standard RSI. Guys, you don't need the stochastic. The stochastic, all that's doing is just amplifying the readings that you're getting so you can see things a little bit easier. So, but you don't need to have the stochastic on. I personally just use regular RSI. And again, in my settings on RSI, and I'm sorry when I was talking about the moving averages earlier, I don't know why I was saying 30-day moving average. It's not 30-day, I was talking about RSI. RSI level set to 30. Upper limit at 70. Again, let's make that checkered line very clear. Lower line, again, same setup. I like the checkered line so it's pretty easy to see. My center line, I also like to make white, and I like to make it easy to see. So that's exactly how I set up RSI over here on Bybit. Now, personally, I like doing a split screen. So another great feature, and you can do this on a free account as well. If I come over here and I click this on chart on trading view, it's gonna automatically take you over here to trading view. So just to show you the RSI tutorial, it's a lot easier for me to do over here on trading view. So think of RSI like momentum, right? It's like velocity. I tell everybody, like, if you're in a car, right, and you have an electric car and you have point A and point B, right? If I floor that gas pedal, if I floor that electric car pedal, because I guess not call it gas pedal, if I floor that pedal to the metal and gun it right and I have a full battery, I can make it so far. If I'm in that same car and I have 3/4 of a battery, what happens? I do the same thing in the same amount of time, but I make it a little bit less far and a little bit less far. Now, when you're talking about RSI, it doesn't necessarily mean that because an RSI level is at a certain point, that price is not going to come up and put in higher highs. But the simplest way to use RSI on a 1 hour time frame to get an understanding of like what direction the market's actually headed. If you're on the 1 hour time frame and you come over and you just draw a line at the 50 level of RSI, it is such a key indicator. When you're below the 50 level on RSI on a 1 hour time frame, consider the market downtrending. So look what happens right here. We start this downtrend, we start to come down and we break below 50 and then boom, price plummets all the way down. And we come up here the first time and what happens? Price gets rejected at the 50 level. Price comes down. And then finally, we start putting in higher lows. I can see the bullish divergence over here as well. And then we break above it, and then what happens? As soon as we break back above it, we rally. And then what happens over here? We came down and what do? We confirm support on that 50 level and boom, blast off again. So just looking at 50 levels on RSI is huge. Now you can also use it for bullish and bearish divergence. Like how do we know we were at bottom right over here, right? How do we know that that was bottom? So what I like to do is when I see setups where I think we're starting to build bullish and bearish divergence, I'm looking for areas where price is going to be reversing at or could reverse at. So I can jump onto like a 5-minute time frame. We're going to come right back over to that same area we were just at. I'm going to put a few points on the chart right here. And I also have in my other video where I talk about indicators and tools. All of these tools that I'm using, I have a step-by-step video on Bybit that teaches you guys how to use these tools and how to set up your toolbar, just like I have set up over here on TradingView. So I want to point out two things. What do you notice right here? 41,000 down to 40,900. What are we doing on here on price? Price is putting in lower lows. What do we see RSI doing over here? RSI is putting in drastically higher lows. That is bullish divergence, and it's my favorite type of hidden continuation divergence. So it's letting you know that this trend has continued downward. We've hit bottom. And what I'm looking at over here is hidden reversal divergence. So I can see it's class A hidden reversal divergence. Price putting in lower lows. RSI starts putting in higher lows. RSI, we can dive into it. It's a lot more in depth. And I could go into these indicators for days and go over every indicator and exactly how they work. But the only indicator I legit use is RSI. That is the only indicator I think you need to use. Now I will throw up some moving averages and take a look at the market and see where key support levels might be. But I use moving averages a lot more when I'm kind of like really uncertain about the market or Bitcoin's really pulling back and I'm kind of like, oh wow, where's it going to find support at? I start turning on some moving averages. But as far as trading goes, when I'm actually looking to exit or enter trades, the only indicator I'm looking at is RSI. But that's because I'm a huge swing trader. As far as a day trader or scalp trader, I would definitely be utilizing a ton of different indicators. But for the most part, as a day trader or swing trader, I think RSI, Fibonacci, just understanding where key support levels are, throwing a few moving averages in there, maybe taking a look at volume. Don't let anybody convince you that you need to buy. Market Cipher is the biggest Ponzi scheme I've ever seen in my life. That indicator is never going to make you a great trader. What makes you a great trader is learning how to read the chart, because all indicators do is they are reading code, right? So when a moving average does this, or RSI does that, or does that, put this symbol on the chart, right? So it's if this and or that. If this does this, do this, right? So it's reading lines of code, but when's it getting that signal? At the close of a candle. So you might be on a 1-day time frame or on a daily time frame and you're waiting for the blood diamond to print. Well, the blood diamond doesn't print until the next day starts. So that by the time it prints, well, guess what? Most of the time you've already missed all those opportunities. And Market Cipher, we won't go into Market Cipher, but let's just say my buddy built a user interface for a risk versus reward calculator, which he taught you guys how to use, made a video tutorial on it, all for free, right? Well, one of C-Face's dudes reached out, actually his brother, reached out and said, hey man, I love that risk versus reward calculator. Would you mind showing me a little bit more about it? But he's like, yeah, sure, man. After about an hour with this dude working on him, showing how everything works, exactly how to use it, the dude goes, hey man, do you ever think about monetizing this? But he's like, no man, it's free. I just wanted to give it out to everybody to help everybody. That's what it, that's what it's for. It's free. He's like, oh, all right, man, all right. Week later, boots my buddy from his Discord, deletes all the messages so that my buddy couldn't have them. Luckily, my buddy took screenshots of them all. Took his user interface, took his risk versus reward calculator, and then actually uploaded it onto Market Cipher. So now it's actually included, or you get it as a bonus for buying Market Cipher, this risk versus reward calculator, which he stole from my buddy. So if you guys want to use Market Cipher, don't. Go get Vu Manchu, it's free, and use the free Vu Manchu, because you don't need to spend your money on a garbage indicator from somebody that just scams and robs people, on top of the $150,000 that he took from all of his subscribers who donated $500, quote unquote donated. I'm gonna trade this money for you guys and you guys are gonna make a ton of money. All 150 grand gone, just disappeared. And then all of a sudden Market Cipher blew up and he didn't pay back anybody. Don't buy any of that dude's indicators. Don't buy any indicators, they're all Ponzi schemes. But as far as Bybit goes, that Bybit's dope. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next video, peace.